would like to call to order the Board of Zoning Appeals of the City of Decatur, Indiana. The minutes of the previous meeting on November 5th were emailed to you over the weekend or first thing Monday morning. That's when I saw it. I would like to have a motion to make those a matter of record, please.
I so move.
I second.
Moved and seconded that the minutes as emailed are made a matter of public record and accepted. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The minutes are approved as distributed. I circulated the proof of publication that this meeting was properly advertised in local media. Would like a motion to make that a matter of public record.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded that the proof of publication is made a matter of record. Third item, affidavits for applicant's petition are made a matter of record. This is where the neighboring property owners were notified of this meeting. This was distributed and reviewed. I'd like a motion to make that a matter of public record.
So move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
The affidavit for applicant's petition are made a matter of record. An additional item this evening is the fact that we only have 3 board members in attendance tonight. We have to have 3 votes to have a quorum. In addition to that, one of the members had a former business relationship with Ryan Hershey. I'm going to turn it over to Tim Baker, and he's going to clarify the situation.
Yeah. The fact that there was a prior business relationship does not disqualify Dave Haggard from participating in these proceedings, provided that there is no business relationship that currently exists, or that Dave has no interest in the project that is being proposed for which the variances are being sought. So Dave, you and Ryan at one time had a business relationship in the Haggard-Sefton funeral home. That's no longer the case, is that correct? Right. Okay, and the funeral home, the principals of the funeral home, including Ryan, are not currently obligated to you financially, repayment of any note or anything of that nature. You have no interest in Ryan's real estate. No. You have no interest in the contract related to the construction project that Ryan is seeking variances for. No. Okay. So at this point, I'm satisfied that there's no conflict and that Dave can proceed to participate in these proceedings. I would also point out that normally the chairman does not vote, but because of the fact that we need 3 out of 5 votes in order to approve this, Greg will be participating in the voting process this afternoon.
All right, do we need to have a vote on making those statements a matter of record?
If you want to do that, but that's up to you. I mean, it's in the record.
It's in the record, so we're ready to move forward.
Yeah.
All right. First application we're reviewing this evening is from Ryan and Rebecca Hershey, are requesting a variance on the side yard setback. I would like to make it a matter of record that there are 2 variances. We're going to address the 2 variances as 2 separate business items. So the first is for the side yard setback. Ryan, can you have a seat at the table? Introduce yourself with your name and address, and then make your application to the board.
The address of the property, correct?
Your address.
Okay. My name is Ryan Hershey. My permanent address is 3350 North Shady Lane in Decatur. The project address is 317 South 3rd Street, Decatur. I do own that property as well.
Okay. What information do you feel the board needs to act upon your request for the side yard setback?
I guess the biggest thing that I'm trying to do is actually improve the property. There's actually not a garage on that property for my tenant that's currently renting there. And then also with the purchase of the property between my property and the funeral home, which we just recently purchased, which will be parking lot, I would like to have something that looks nice from that direction is my big goal. And so I propose to build a garage that is basically a story and a half with the gable end. I do have a picture here. I got a couple of them I printed that I can what you guys see, minus the cupola, because that exceeds the height, the, I think, requirements or limits, or I guess, of what are set forth. Yeah, the reason that I'm actually asking for the variance is because I would like it to be a two-car garage, and because the property is only 41 feet, I would have to use basically 8-foot garage doors, which would leave me no mirrors, probably, on my vehicles, to be honest with you. So I wanted a minimum of a 9-foot doors on there, so thus, to make it look halfway decent, I needed 24 feet to make sure that happened. So so that would still, again, allow the basically 2 feet on either side, but if I needed to, which I did get the approval from the property to the south of me, I believe it is, it's Stevens property, I don't know who the owner is now, I forget their names, but I could even shift it closer to my own property that we just purchased. It was the Jimmy Mosier property, if it was an issue, if I got that variance, but I'd like to center it in the property if possible.
Okay, so you are requesting a 2-foot variance from a 10-foot side setback to an 8-foot side
Correct.
setback.
Correct.
All right. Any additional information before the board before we start with questions?
That's the first one. I don't know if you want me to
We're
cover
going to deal with the
Okay.
first one in its
Perfect.
entirety.
Perfect.
Then we'll come back and
Okay.
do the second one.
Yep, no, I think that's basically all I have. Now I can answer questions if there's any in regards to that.
Okay. Do we have any questions from the board for the applicant?
No, I don't have any.
I have
seen
none.
pictures of the garage that he's proposing. It's really nice and, yeah.
I have none either. The documentation was very complete on this. So, do we have anybody in attendance that would like to speak in opposition? Hearing none, do we have anybody in attendance that would like to speak in favor? Does the Building and Planning Department have any information to bring to the board at this time?
No, everything's covered.
Okay, any final questions from the board for the applicant?
No.
No.
No. All right, I'm ready to read the findings of fact for the first variance request, and that variance would be a 2-foot variance from the 10-foot side back to allow an 8-foot side setback. All right, we will poll the board, and each will respond out loud with their answer. Yes means they agree with granting the variance. No means they disagree. First point. The granting of the variance will not permit any use in any district which will be in conflict with the permitted uses of the district under the terms of this chapter.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
3 yes. It will not impair an adequate supply of light or air to adjacent property.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
3 yes. It will not unreasonably increase the congestion in public streets.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
3 yes. It will not increase the danger of fire or public safety.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
3 yes. It will not unreasonably diminish or impair established property values within the surrounding area.
Yes.
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 3 yes. It will not in any other respect impair the public health, comfort, safety, morals, or welfare of the inhabitants of the city.
Yes.
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 3 yes. It is therefore the decision of this board that the petition for variance is granted or denied.
Granted.
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 Ryan, your first petition with no restrictions, excuse me, pardon me, are there any restrictions we're going to impose upon this variance? Your variance is granted with no restrictions. So we're going to go ahead and get this signed and the paperwork to the city attorney, and then we'll take up the second request. Okay, Tim, do you have all the documents you need?
Right
I want to
now,
make sure
I
I'm
do.
not walking away with any of this.
Nope. So far, so good.
Okay, second application before the Board of Zoning Appeals this evening is from Ryan and Rebecca Hershey, requesting a variance for maximum lot coverage at 317 South 3rd Street, Decatur, Indiana. Refer to code 150.050, maximum lot coverage. Ryan, would you please present your application to the board?
Yeah, basically, this is a new one to me. I didn't realize there was such a thing until I went to talk to the folks there at the building department about this. It's really close with the size of the home, and then with my proposed size of the garage. I think it was like 1% or something. I don't remember the exact numbers, and you guys may have that. That were it exceeded by maybe 1% or 1.5% of what the maximum was. So, and the biggest reason for the size is actually one big reason is funeral coach is 21 feet long, and if in the event I need to park it somewhere other than our garage because we have other projects that are going on, sometimes we have to park it out, and so give it a place to be protected. And it's 21 feet some odd, so to do anything shorter wouldn't allow me to use it for that, and it would also give adequate storage for my renter to have room as well. So that's the reason. So.
Okay, and the request for the maximum lot coverage variance is to increase the maximum lot coverage from 35 to 40%, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so we're asking for a variance to increase by 5% from 35 to 40. Does the board have any questions for the applicant?
I don't.
No.
We're going to go through this housekeeping again. Anybody in attendance in opposition to the variance request? Anybody in attendance supporting the variance request? Do we have any additional information from the Building and Planning Department?
No, actually, the percentage we came up with was 38%, so it was 3% over, so we advised him to go 40%.
So 40 is more than adequate to cover
Yes.
what is necessary. Okay, do we have any additional questions from the board for the applicant? Anybody else in attendance? Any comments? Okay, we're ready to read the findings of fact for variance to increase maximum lot coverage from 35% to 40%. We'll go through the same polling process as we did before. First point of consideration, the granting of the variance will not permit any use in any district which would be in conflict with the permitted uses of the district under the terms of this chapter.
Yes.
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 3 yes. It will not impair an adequate supply of light or air to adjacent property.
Yes.
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 3 yes. It will not unreasonably increase the congestion in public streets.
Yes.
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 3 yes. It will not increase the danger of fire or of public safety.
Yes.
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 3 yes. It will not unreasonably diminish or impair established property values within the surrounding area.
Yes.
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 3 yes. It will not in any other respect impair the public health, comfort, safety, morals, or welfare of the inhabitants of the city.
Yes.
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 3 yes. It is the decision of this board that the petition for variance is granted or denied.
Granted.
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 Any restrictions to be applied to this request? None? So adopted this 19th day of November 2019. Your request for both variances have been granted. Good luck with your construction before the weather turns.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much.
Do we have any old business to deal with?
The only thing I have, the last PZA meeting we had when Flash Arc was in here to talk about doing business. At the end of that meeting, we had asked him to pull his application. So does that mean that whole subject's dead now? We don't have to, because I know we talked about tabling it at one point.
If he withdrew the petition, there's nothing before the board.
Okay, I'm just asking because that's the first time I've ever had,
Right.
I've ever seen that happen.
So there's not an open item out there?
Nope.
New business? 218 South First Street, just down the street. Corey Apple is wanting to buy that property. That property is zoned C1, and it's a house. It was actually had renters in it. At some point in time, I guess it was somebody had a printing press or a printing company in there. And at some point in time,
John Augsburger, Sudden Service Printing.
somebody turned it into a house. So Corey is wanting to buy that property, and he is wanting to come in to apply for a special exception to use the house as residential for renters, but still leave it as a C1. By doing this, it opens him up a whole broad spectrum here. He gets somebody in there who wants to use it as an office instead of a house, they can't, because it's zoned as a C1. Or the way it's set up now, it can be used as a residential house. But because this has happened, we thought it was best that they bring it in front of the DZA. We had two options. If he wanted to rent it as a house, he could go in front of the Plan Commission and try and get it rezoned as an R1, which would be kind of easy because the houses right across the alley from him is an R1.
So if they're across the alleys in R1, that's not spot zoning.
That's not spot zoning. Or he could come in front of DZA, get a special exception to still use it as a residential house in a commercial area, a C1.
Use of a residence in a C1 is not an approved use?
No, it has to be done by special exception, according to our ordinance.
Historically, it was included as a permitted use, but apparently it's been changed under our ordinance.
We can't find it in C1 permitted uses. It actually falls, yeah, you want to grab it?
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, I think we're kind of grasping at that because it actually doesn't say residential living or anything. It says residential planning, plotting.
So would that have been an error or omission in the last revision?
Well, that's what I'm wondering, because normally what happens is the more restrictive the zoning, the greater the number of permitted uses. So usually, I mean, historically, that's what I've seen in a lot of ordinances. But if our ordinance does not include that language, then we don't have much choice. If it's something that we want included, we may need to amend our ordinance and have American Publishing include that, so that in the future that wouldn't be a
Well,
problem.
in my opinion, it shouldn't be allowed. It should be special exception.
Special exception?
Because if it's not special exception, that means anybody in town could go to any commercial building and start living in it. And
How does that work when we got like apartments above?
Well, that was exactly my question. How does it deal with the second floor apartments?
Right, and most of the places downtown have commercial something on the first floor with apartments on the second floor or third floor. Okay, that's grandfathered in as far as being business on the first floor, residential on the second or third. This is this thing looks like a house. It does not look like a commercial building.
Yeah, and at one time there was a garage behind it. I don't know if it's still there or not.
Right,
okay.
It's still there. But if we allowed it to not be a special exception, then that means that they could, if we sold City Hall, somebody could just move in here and start living, and the state of Indiana says, because now you're dealing with change of occupancy on the building. It would have to be brought up to residential codes as far as smoke detectors, yada, yada, yada. So in my opinion, it should be special exception.
So when the revisions were made, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, whenever the last revisions were made and adopted, they used the state of Indiana's code as a framework. We were allowed to review it several times.
Yes.
But that was an onerous task. There were thousands of line items.
And it, I guess the issue is we can contact American Publishing to see if that was intentional or unintentional in terms of how this is set up.
Well, what I'm finding out is this was pretty much a blanket ordinance. that it's meant to be molded. So, I mean, we received this through American Publishing. It was our job to go through and mold this how we needed it.
Correct.
And this particular issue was not molded yet, or hasn't been molded yet.
So I think it's an issue that needs to be addressed, you know, and if you guys have a specific recommendation with regard to that issue, then that can be communicated to the council, because council would have to adopt an ordinance to amend it.
Well, council would have to adopt the ordinance to amend it, and/or plan commission would have to submit a request for rezoning if it wanted to go in that direction.
Correct.
But the purchaser, Corey Affolter, does not want to seek rezoning. Is that what you said?
No, he does not want to seek rezoning.
Okay.
It has been a-
Right, so the issue that I'm referring to is, if you want, in a C1, residential use to be a permitted use, then we need to amend that, and that would be your recommendation to council. If Kurt is saying he would prefer that it stay as it is, and have that addressed as a special exception, then we probably should clarify that that includes any uses that are not permitted uses under the zoning classification.
Correct.
Okay? If that's not in there, then we probably should put that in there.
Currently, the way it reads, under uses permitted by special exception, residential development plan.
Okay.
Plan, are they referencing a planned unit development, a PUD?
No idea.
That would be mixed use?
I have no idea. It just, there's no definition in the book for this. It just says residential development plan. In my opinion, this should be revised.
In the
Say-
C1 ordinance, that's all, or in the C1, that's all that refers to residential.
That's it.
That's
Period.
the only
Wow.
sentence.
The only sentence.
Gentlemen, any comments or observations? The only time I can remember dealing with this historically on the board was with the fee structures that we went through several years ago and revised all of those. We actually polled and surveyed Columbia City, Angola, Auburn, cities of similar size in this area to see how they were treating that. Would that be something we would want to pursue?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with contacting other communities just to see how their ordinances are set up on that particular issue. And then see, you know, what their experience has been. But I think you just need to make clear under our ordinance, one way or the other, how you want it handled. And I think if you as a Board of Zoning Appeals in the Building and Planning Department want to make a specific recommendation to council, then you can. It would be up to council then to determine whether they agree and pass an ordinance to that effect.
Do you have an application from Corey at this time?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so we are bound by that ordinance as it's written right
Yes,
now.
we are.
So this is two different conversations.
Exactly.
One is how to clarify it for the future, and the other is how to address Corey's
And
application.
maybe what you ought to do is try to get some information, and then when we schedule Corey to come in, perhaps Kurt will have obtained some information from other communities, and if you guys want to discuss that a bit, and then if you feel you're in a position to make a decision as to a recommendation, then we can take that to council.
A good example of what I was talking about would be the Hive, Biggs's down here. That building was strictly business before, it was B1, according to state code. Because they went in and added apartments on the second and third floor, now they had to apply to the state for a mixed use or multiple use on the building, being an R2 on the second, third floor, and B1 on the first floor. Plus they had to submit all the designs and everything else, sprinkler system was involved. So for that reason, that's why I'm saying it should be permitted by special use.
And actually, I think they came in on a special use exception to have those apartments constructed.
Exactly.
They updated everything. It's like where in reference to my building, there's always been apartments upstairs.
Correct.
So it's grandfathered.
So that's grandfathered as a continuation of use.
Right.
Right.
Well,
Well,
not
Corey,
construction.
Corey across the street is both easy game. Theoretically, the apartments he had up there If he had just tore everything down to bare stud and left the interior walls and the room layouts the way it was, he could have remodeled, just put new drywall up, maybe a little bit of new wiring. He would not have had to have sent in to the state because it was already apartments.
So that's the difference between remodeling and new construction.
Right, because he went in and wiped it out from front to back and relaid out the apartments and the rooms. Now, because it's over a commercial structure, he had to submit to the state.
Well, are there any other peripheral properties around the downtown area where this would apply?
Soul Pig. There are apartments above Soul Pig.
But those were apartments
Those
before.
were apartments before. Now, if Mark wanted to remodel them, he'd have the same situation Corey did. If he went in and just knocked drywall and slats and plaster off the walls and just re-drywall, left the walls where they're at, he wouldn't have to apply to the state. But if he gutted it from front to back and redesigned the second floor, now he's got to submit to the state. But the use of the building wouldn't change.
So would he, if he's going to the state, does he still need a special exception from the city?
No.
Okay, the state
No.
supersedes.
The state was, well, it's already apartments. So, I mean, we can't tell him that he would have to come in front of the BZA when he's already got the apartments, and it had already been used as apartments at one point in time. I run into the same situation with Miller's Floor and More. A while back, I had a gentleman who wanted to purchase that building. Well, right now, the way it sits, the first floor is a B1. The second floor is an R1, I think it is, for motels and hotels.
Well, that was from its history. It was
Right.
Masonic or KFC or whatever. I
Yeah,
forget what it was.
It was actually a hotel at one point
Oh.
in time.
Okay.
So, but what he wanted to do was he wanted to turn the third floor into his personal residence, which is an R3. Then he wanted to take the second floor and turn it into apartments, which is an R2. So he changed from an R1 to an R3 and an R2, and then he was going to leave it as a B. I told him he had to submit to the state for mixed occupancy.
Well, for one, I am totally confused.
Each commercial building has an occupancy. Is classified as a certain type of occupancy for whatever business it's in. A restaurant's going to be an A3. A movie theater is going to be an A4 for a center. A shoe shop, a shoe salesman, whatever, selling vacuums or shoes or whatever, that's going to be a B1. When you change that occupancy, if you change it to a worse occupancy, you have to resubmit to the state. They have to approve that that building can be used for that occupancy. And you have to hire a design professional to send that paperwork in to prove that theory.
And it is likely that we're going to run into this repeatedly with the renovations that are going on.
2.5 years.
Recommendation from the city attorney?
I suggest that Kurt gather some information from other communities to see how they handle this, report back, and then this body can deliberate, make a recommendation in combination with the Building and Planning Department to council if a change needs to be made. If we're going to leave it as it is, then you don't really need to do anything.
So what do we do about the application that has been submitted?
It's been submitted in a proper fashion in accordance with our existing ordinance, so we schedule it for hearing.
So his request for special exception is considered, and that's all that's necessary. It's not a rezoning, it's just a use.
Correct.
It would only be rezoning if he wanted to change it from a C1 to a...
To an R1.
Okay.
In which case, then it doesn't come before you, it comes before the
Plan
planning.
city council.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, that was interesting.
Clear as mud.
The only thing that I would request is that the board members have adequate time to review that information before we're sitting in a meeting.
What?
When would you potentially be considering Corey's application?
December 3rd.
Okay. Is that going to give everybody enough time?
Yeah, he he had until Thursday morning to get that application to us.
Well, I meant in terms of you gathering information and the board members to consider that.
So we would have to consider Corey's application with the existing regulations.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, there's no...
Correct.
Then at the same meeting, we could consider making a recommendation for future?
If you wish. If you don't want to do that, then you could do that at the next meeting. I guess before you set the meeting, what are your schedules? Because we're getting into the holidays. So is the 3rd
I'm okay with that.
okay?
The 3rd,
No, I'm here.
Okay, so it looks like you'd at least have a quorum.
I would just want at least a few days to read, reread, ask questions before we were having a
yes.
discussion. Anything from infrastructure?
No, I think like now with Corey's, you gotta go with what we got.
No, yeah, there's no question about that. He submitted an application, we have to take it under the existing ordinances.
Right.
I agree with Kurt on the new, if you're changing occupancy and all that, yeah.
Regardless of what changes we make in here, even if we were to go in and say, yes, it's an acceptable use from the word go, I still have to fight that battle with the owner for what he's going to do. As the state still is going to come in and say, well, that's fine, but the way it works, if I go from, let's say I went from an A3, which is assembly, where you got a bunch of people, or like Corey's over here, the movie theater. If he goes in and changes that movie theater to a retail store or an office, he doesn't have to resubmit because it's a lesser occupancy. But when people are involved, more people are involved, now it's a worse occupancy. Or if he turns it into something industrial where he's manufacturing fireworks, now it's a more hazardous occupancy. So regardless of what council, BZA, anybody puts in here, I still have to fight that battle on the state's behalf.
This is similar, but not the same to what we've been dealing with Industrial Park, where when they rent to a new tenant and they're doing...
Changes the use.
Changes the use, they're supposed to come in, but we have no way of managing or administering
A
that.
lot of the times we stumble across it.
Yeah.
Like we did with the ambulance, he wanted to add on. Well, come to find out, if he's already maxed out for square footage, if he added onto that building, he'd have to put
sprinkle
a
it.
sprinkler system in it.
Okay. So we will have another meeting on December 3rd to consider Corey Affolter's application. At that time, if you've had adequate time to do research, we will have discussion on other recommendations. Is that in agreement with what everybody else understood?
Yeah, that's fine.
But you're going to check with Auburn and the other, to me, that sounds good.
Building and Zoning Department will make some inquiries about how it's being handled.
I'll try it at Whitley County, Huntington.
I think it was Auburn that was just like 6 months ahead of us on that adoption. It was either Auburn or Angola.
Yeah, I don't recall.
Because there was one of those communities that was doing the same thing just a couple steps ahead of
I
us.
got an email from the building official in Auburn today, so I can hit him. I'll hit him up first thing in the morning.
Okay. Anything else from anybody in attendance? If not, do I hear a motion? Oh, hold
I
it.
did talk to the variance we just granted. His sewer line probably runs through that new garage. Something we need to keep in mind in the future when they're taking that much of the lot. We got to verify where his sewer connections are. I explained it to him, he agreed, he doesn't want it underneath that garage. So,
Is it as lateral?
sewer tap for him
Yeah.
comes off the alley, off the back of the house, so the odds are it's going to fall in that new garage.
Okay,
Is he going to relocate it then?
at that point, it's a consideration for building permitting,
Yeah.
not for what,
For you guys.
not for what we
But
discussed.
I'm just saying, it's a Kurt.
Okay.
That's something we'll look at. But he's gonna, we'll address it.
Anything from anybody else in attendance?